What's up, Union Arena players? This is Kyle D, better known as Universities, and I'm excited to talk about something today. That we are in my new place, so it looks a little trashy because we're still unpacking and all that stuff. But you know what? I'm excited. It's a new place where I finally get to call my own home. So welcome, and now videos should start being more consistent because now I don't have to kill myself just trying to move and afford a house. So without further ado, let's dive in the video and hit 1,000 subscribers sooner than later, shall we? So let's take a look at Gen Con's top 16, shall we? So we have the amazing spread. We have Full Metal Alchemist basically taking a strong foothold in our meta, which is fantastic to see. Means that we're not seeing such a heavy code meta anymore, which makes a lot of sense. Maybe Lancelot will change things once we get Volume 2, but I don't expect purple code to be there anymore. I think a lot of players now have adapted with, Full Metal Alchemist, purple bleach. We have Code Geass 1 red code, which is an aggressive deck. We have Jujutsu Kaisen purple, bleach green, One Punch Man yellow, Jujutsu Kaisen blue. This is pretty good spread. Now we need to understand where this is going, right? I don't know if Roy is just fan favorite because it is a big fan favorite. A lot of people have been talking about Roy Mustang for a while. It's just one of those decks that people know from their heart of heart that they are going to be playing, right? So that's something to think about there as well. So Roy Mustang is a valued piece of the format now. So expect blue JJK, not blue Full Metal Alchemist to stick around for a while. So let's take a look though. We do have none other than, 7 of these fantastic decks, but we're going to start from 16, work our way up. The only one we don't have is 14, sadly, but hey, it happens. But let's take a look here. Rude. So first off, we do have the Kenny list. If you guys, they are playing the 1-cost Yachiru. Not a lot of people actually play this card. It's hit or miss if they do. You do have Kenpachi's Arakis at like $1.50s. You do have the Toshis. Toshis actually came down, but it's pretty cool to see that this deck has cooled off a little bit for its price. And I'm really excited to see where they go with this. I mean, Kenny is a very powerful deck. The fact that you have, Kenpachi that's able to derate itself if it is to be removed, and that means it costs 2 removal spells, and you can't DP reduce this thing to kill it. So that changes everything, right? This thing sticks on the board and is a little more deadly to deal with. Toshi's an interesting one. They are at 5 non-triggers, which, in my opinion, if you can get down to 4, best option. If you can get down to 0, your deck is nuts. But being that we got to 5 means you're in a good spot, right? These are your only non-triggers in the deck, and I think this is pretty cool where they went. I like the Shinji. I wasn't expecting this, but being able to, if on your front line, choose 2 characters with 2000 DP or less, whose DPs are the same. On your opponent's front line, sideline them. Being able to remove weak blockers is pretty decent, actually. Though you need to be matching, it's interesting. Choose up to 1 opponent with 3000 DP on your opponent's front line, switch it to resting, switch this character active is another option when played. So being able to be a removal option, really good, but also an option for the ability to switch him to active. That's kind of cool. Being able to switch something to rested means you get an attack in. God, I hate these ads. Now, we do have none other than Code Geass. This is very, very stock list, right? School festivals, just being able to search. A lot of players have used this. This is just a consistency card. This deck is still deadly. If they print, not only expect this deck to be broken, but I don't know if they will because they didn't print Rukia. Now, we do get into the first Roy Mustang of the lineup. Roy is very powerful for the many reasons because Riza Ryza plus Roy means that you're able to remove almost all things standing in your way, right? A lot of players don't have that option to deal with that, and it's kind of good in a sense, right? I really like to see where this deck goes and how long it stays in the format paired to a lot of the others. So I think as long as we don't have, I love the name, It's a Terrible Day for Rain. So yeah, I mean, Roy being able to discard your deck down, your hand size down, and be able to gain impact once you're at 0, be able to remove a threat. You know, a lot of this does have a lot of draw triggers. There's 8 non-triggers in the deck, and that's acceptable. You want to be, 8 is like the pinnacle of non-triggers you want to be at, right? You don't want to be higher than that because your deck will suffer, but 8 is like the most acceptable target. Now, blue JJK, not a lot of people were expecting how good this was going to be. We have Kento Namami. This one being able to minus board state is really good. And I think players weren't really expecting Sukuna, really. I think a lot of players written off Sukuna for a bit just because the meta has shifted and he's come down quite a lot from his craziness. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I think Sukuna still has a great hold in the meta, just not as dominant as it was with Purple Code, right? I think it's just once One Punch Man hit, I think the deck has fallen down a little bit. Now we do have Yellow Saitama, funny enough, right after the blue JJK list, right? So Saitama is another dastardly threat, right? He just such an annoying factor that your opponent has to deal with. 10k just coming in, but the problem is if it's dealing with like Toto Swap or stuff like that are just extremely fast paced and you can't get in that defensive line that you want, you're just going to give them free damage to run with. Now we do have another Roy Mustang list. This time they are playing Mr. Alex Louis Armstrong. Double damage, and when this character attacks, wins a battle, draw 2 cards. This is an option for players if they want to. They either go with this or they play another variant that adds in none other than our Edward Elric. So just something to think about here as an option. Now we do have Purple Ichigo. This is the Squad Zero listing. This is very commonplace for Squad Zero. There's nothing really out of the ordinary. Just being able to draw a bunch of cards with your Royal Palace, which feels good because you get to use it with Sanjimaru and your removal spells of the Shatatsu, Karaguri, blah, 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 Senjutsu. God, that name I'm never going to pronounce, and don't expect me to. Take a shot if I ever pronounce something wrong. Now, we do got Toto Swap. This deck is another strong deck out of, Jujutsu Kaisen. Just the fact of the matter is that, you have Goodwill Event that'll let you basically get back into your Totos. It's just scary. This deck does so much for so little, right? Now, we do have another Roy Mustang being Roy Mustang, but they are playing none other than Alex. Again, just punching is punching. Now, you do have Military in Trouble as another option, so draw 2 cards. Then, if you only have 2 cards in your hand, draw an additional card. Again, they're at 8. They're not going to get down to 4. I don't think they will until they get another wave of support that just changes up a little bit. Squad Zero, again, this deck is just really good at board control removal. If you started to notice that it had, like, the top 8 decks had this interesting, able to remove more consistently than others kind of going for them, which is not bad. It just has a lot more removal to work with, right? Now, taking a look here, we do have Riza, Roy, just doing their shenanigans. They're not playing, they're just playing the pure build. So they want more consistency instead of having like Alex or, Edward. So yeah, just another option. Now we do have another one. See, this one is playing the Edward. This one, Edward is get out of here. Edward Elric, just being able to, you may add 1 card from your life to your hand if you do switch this character active. It's not a bad option. Being able to take a little bit of damage, set yourself up to use Roy, another card to discard. It's not terrible. You know, by placing 2 cards from your hand and sideline, this character gains impact. A way of finishing the game is always good, right? Now we do have this is purple bleach, sorry. This is an interesting list. Nobody was expecting Renji Rush to come in, but being able to have 7 targets with double impact actually through the whole course of the game can lead to being very scary, making your opponent have to block things that earlier than they want to, right? Being able to swing in with a Renji early on, being able to deal that 2 damage sometimes is huge. This is the ideal concept of why Lancelot is so good, is that it uses this double damage aspect, and you're taking this idea that what Lancelot's kind of doing, right, where both swings are going to be double damage in some sort case, right? This is the only thing I don't like about this list. Trigger counts are at 10 non-triggers. I'll change that. I don't like 10 non-triggers. Be 8. Be good. No. It bugs me. But it worked for them. And impressive, this girl stormed in with this version of the deck and really ruled over all these guys. I think getting 2nd place, especially when you don't know what's going to be coming around the corner, I think this was a great way of representing Renji, and especially because if we have another, which we have a couple more events now, we're going to see some great value. Now, here's the 1st place list. They are playing Edward Elric. They're playing the Roys. They have the Rizas. You know, they are playing the Military is in trouble. They're at 7 non-triggers, which good for you. You got under 8, which is good. I think the Military is in trouble is really good. Just being able to, if you only have 2 cards in hand, draw additional card. Like late game wise, this now fuels your Roy being able to answer a lot of threats, right? I think this has a lot of potential going forwards, and I really like to see where it goes. So guys, what did you think of this breakdown? What was your opinion on the new meta? So guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.